the other part of the act, which would be Paul and Storm. Could you come on up? I know this. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Great. And good morning, everybody. And without further ado, somebody who I've been waiting to come to this convention, and everyone in this town has been waiting to finally come here. One of the last people in the Star Trek world to make it to Atlanta to DragonCon, Mr. Wil Wheaton. Will has informed me that this is his cosplay outfit. Right.
I said to Wesley, "Where did you put the nanites?" And he says, "I don't know." And I went with my lovely wife Camille to the holodeck, and she said to me, "God, where's the children?" I said, "I don't know."
This panel has been renamed Wesley Crusher himself.
Because you see, Rudy, when you go into the outer space, the reverse polarity of the navigational deflector must be set before you leave space dock, or you go into the pudding pops of everything. Bill Cosby, ladies and gentlemen.
Between the sweater and the cigar, that was a $25 joke, so we hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. If you'd like to offset the costs of that, you can feel free to throw money at us. At my house, I mean that. This microphone will feel short. Alright. There you go. Just relax and go with it. Everything's good morning, DragonCon. I'm surprised anyone's here at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. Having wandered the bacchanalia of DragonCon. Oh, you're a doll. Thank you very much. Paul and Storm, she just bought the cosplay bit.
We has a subsidy.
This is awesome. Like Garrett said, I decided that rather than sort of talk about Wesley Crusher, I would tell you a story that happened when I was Wesley Crusher. It's a story that I love. And it's a story that I originally published in my book, Dancing Barefoot, and then I excerpted it and put it in my book, Just a Geek. And Paul and Storm and I do a show together called Woodstock. Are you familiar with this show? A few of them? Okay, all right, good, good. If you don't know what Woodstock is, apparently ask the person next to you. We travel around with Woodstock, and when we can't get everybody from Woodstock together, we do a show called Wil Wheaton versus Paul and Storm. And that's where we first did the show that we're going to do for you today. But because this is DragonCon, and because there is such epic cosplay at DragonCon, I felt that it was very important that I sort of put in a little extra effort, really make it worth your while to come out here at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Oh, is it Monday? I'm sorry. It feels like Sunday.
It's second Sunday.
It is second Sunday. I'm going to perform today for you wearing the Cape of Dicks. Bring me my Cape of Dicks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul and Storm with the love song from Cape of Dicks.
Cape of Dicks.
Cape of Dicks. Much like my beard, I exist merely as a host organism. I'm just going to grab some water, and then we will begin. Grab some water. Grab some water. It is Cape of Dicks. I begin this story, I have to tell you two things. The first thing is that if you find yourselves being offended by the Cape of Dicks, you should leave before I start telling you something. If words like tits, winkle, and vibraphone offend you, you should leave before I begin telling you story. I also want you to know that this happened a very long time ago. And we're cool now. I cannot stress that point enough. It's okay. We're friends. It's good. It's still a funny story. This is still the way I remember it happening. So I'm going to tell it that way. This story is called William fucking Shatner. I first went. I'm 2 words in. 2 words in.
Second Sunday.
Second Sunday. You know, the mistake that I made last night was I didn't drink and I went to bed early. I know, it's totally contraindicated by the DragonCon operating instructions, but I have upgraded a service pack. Oh my God, I'm so tired.
By the way, Will, very briefly before you start, I only now thought of it. Tits, Winkle, and Vibrator is the name of our collective Lady Gaga cover band.
Thank you, I'll write that down. The story is called William fucking Shatner. I first met William Shatner on the set of Star Trek V in 1988. I was 16. I had been working on Next Generation for 2 years at the time. We were enjoying some success with our show, and I was intensely proud of the work I was doing. When I found out that the original series cast would be working next door to us for 2 months, I was beside myself. Still heavily involved with the production of Next Generation back then, and he and I were good friends. When I passed by his door, it was not uncommon for him to throw an executive from Paramount out of his office and ask me in for a visit. He knew that I was a fan of the original series, and he knew that I was more than a little intimidated by these actors. He offered several times to make introductions, but I always declined. If I was going to meet these legends of science fiction, I was going to do it on my own. For weeks, I tried to get up the nerve to introduce myself. When I would walk from the stage to my dressing room or the schoolhouse, which we called Starfleet Academy, I would do it slowly, looking at their stage door wistfully, hoping to catch a glimpse of Mr. Spock or Dr. McCoy, maybe even the legendary Captain Kirk. The few times they did appear, I never found the courage to approach them. This went on for 6 weeks. Each night I ask the stars above, why must I be a teenager in love? Word got around our set that I was too chicken to introduce myself to the original series actors. It became something of a joke, and the crew began to give me some good-natured ribbing about my reluctance. Next Generation was immensely popular at the time, and I was still riding high on the success of Stand By Me. They couldn't understand why I was so intimidated by these actors. My face was splashed across the cover of every teen magazine in print. I was a Star Trek nerd, and they were on Star Trek. Do the math. One afternoon, I was sitting outside Stage 9, talking with Mandy, my costumer. They opened the huge stage door across the way. I could see right into the set of Star Trek V. There was a large area like a cargo bay filled with extras and equipment. It was different from our set. Like not nearly as cool. But it was still unmistakably the Enterprise. Standing in the middle of it all was William Shatner. He held a script open, sort of like it was a holy text. The way he gestured with his hands, I could tell that he was setting up a shot and discussing it with the camera crew. I waited for that familiar rush of nerves, but it didn't come. See him as a director and not as Captain Kirk put me at ease. I knew that this was my moment. I knew that if I didn't walk over and introduce myself right then, I would never do it. I was wearing the gray acting ensign spacesuit, unzipped with the sleeves tied around my waist. I fucking hated that costume. I hated everything about it. It was up my ass whenever it was on. It was hot in the summer and cold in the winter. It was made of wool, so it was extra itchy around my neck, and they made me wear a muscle suit underneath it. Because really, when you're a 14-year-old nerd, you know what you need to be reminded of every time you move? How you don't have any muscles. Sorry, that's not in the text. That's just... That costume was uncomfortable. So I'd take off the top half whenever I got the chance. Because it was a jumpsuit, I would tie the sleeves around my waist, wear this lightweight 3D, I think I worked on in the 90s. Lightweight fleece jacket, zipped up to cover the embarrassing muscle suit the producers had me wear. You may have heard about it. We all wore those muscle suits. All 9 cast members on the call sheet wore muscle suits. Even Michael Dorn. I know, I'm sorry, am I ruining it for you? I think I was the most traumatized by it. I've always been a tiny little nerd without any muscle mass, and having to wear all that thick padding did little to improve my fragile teenage esteem. I turned to Mandy and I took off my fleece. I asked her to zip up my spacesuit and fasten the collar.
Oh, Mandy, you came and you zipped up my spacesuit.
If I was going to be William Shatner, I was going to do it looking as close to Starfleet regulation as possible. You know, like you do. She made sure my costume looked good enough for camera and she wished me good luck. I got a high five from one of the Teamsters as I confidently walked across the street and into the cargo bay of the Enterprise 1701A. It took about 8 steps for my confidence to evaporate. Surrounded by extras in Starfleet dress, standing next to a shuttlecraft, William Shatner, director, was immediately transformed into Captain Kirk, intergalactic legend. I was transformed from Wil Wheaton, fellow actor and mature film industry professional, into Wil Wheaton, the drooling fanboy and Star Trek nerd. I looked around. I guess I blended in well because nobody noticed me. I turned to make my escape and I bumped into a still photographer who had worked on TNG the first season. "Hey, Will, what are you doing here?" he asked. I swallowed and I looked at the stage door. I just came over to look and leave. And listen to this guy who didn't turn his fucking cell phone on. Which is funny because back then cell phones were the size of this mic. I mean, monitor, that's a monitor. That's what it's Second Sunday. I shuffled my feet and I began to move back toward the familiarity of my own spaceship. "Well, as long as you're here, you should come and meet Mr. Shatner." No. Mr. Shatner? Who is this Mr. Shatner you say? There's no Mr. Shatner here. Is he standing next to Captain Kirk? He turned toward Captain Kirk and he called out, "Hey, Bill, come here a second." My heart began to beat rapidly as he turned toward us. Captain Kirk looked right at me. I froze. He gave his book to someone and began to walk in our direction. I involuntarily straightened my back and sucked in my stomach. He didn't do the same. My muscle suit felt tight and awkward around my arm. arms and my chest. Within seconds, he was standing next to us. He was about my height, looked a little heavier than he did on television. Captain James Seeker of the Starship Enterprise said, "Well, what can I do for you?" This is Wil Wheaton. He's part of the cast of Next Generation, and he would like to meet you. Captain Kirk looked at me for a long time. So, you're the kid on that show? My mouth and my throat were dry. My palms were sweating. My heart pounding in my ears as I answered. Yes, sir. Hi. My name's Wil. He continued to look at me. I carefully wiped my hand on the hip of my spacesuit. And I accepted it. It's really nice to meet you. He didn't take my hand. What is that, your spacesuit? He made a noise that was sort of halfway between a cough and a laugh. This? Yeah. It's not as cool as yours, but, I mean, it's what they tell me to wear. I put my hand down. I really wanted to leave. I felt a little lightheaded. Why wouldn't Captain Kirk shake my hand? Why didn't he like my spacesuit? Did he see the fake muscles? Maybe he didn't like the color. I didn't like the color. I became hyper-aware of the spandex and the muscles clinging to my body and going up my butt. I longed for the comfort of my fleece jacket. Well, he asked. Oh my God, he'd asked me a question and I missed it. Oh, excuse me, I replied. I said, what is it that you do over there? Well, I'm an acting ensign, and sometimes I pilot the ship. I thought maybe he would be impressed that I'd already logged several hours at the helm of the Enterprise D. And I wasn't even 16 yet. Maybe we can talk about what it's like to fly the Enterprise and go around the galaxy and stuff. Well, I would never let a kid come onto my bridge. But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong. He turned and walked away. Captain James Tiberius Kirk of the Starship Enterprise 1701 and Enterprise 1701A, the only person in Starfleet to ever defeat the Kobayashi Maru, the man who invented the Corbomite maneuver, the man who took the Enterprise to the Genesis planet to return Spock's Contra, the man who I had admired since I was 8 years old, was immediately transformed into William fucking Shatner. Goodbye to the still photographer who had made the fateful introduction. But he had vanished as well. Thanks, Dick. I walked back to my own stage with my head down, avoiding eye contact the entire way. When I got to the entrance, I found Mandy and I asked her to unzip my costume so I could put my fleece back on. As she unzipped the bag, she said, "Did you get to meet William Shatner?" "Yeah." I didn't want to let on that I was upset. "What's wrong?" she said. She handed me my fleece jacket, concern in her eyes. "Well," I hesitated. Because if I said it out loud, then that would make it real. He was a dick to me.
Oh, Mandy, turns out that Bill Shatner's a dickhead.
Her eyes widened and she gasped. "What? Why? What happened?" I fought back tears and I recounted our introduction. "What an asshole!" "Oh, I'm so sorry." I nodded my head and she gave me a hug. I took a deep breath, shrugged my shoulders, and walked back to my trailer where I sat down and cried. I had spent weeks getting up the courage to meet this man. And in 5 minutes, he had insulted and humiliated me. He had reduced me from peer to peon. I wore my stupid costume that I hated, thinking it would impress him. And he made fun of it. 15 minutes later, an assistant director knocked on my door and told me that they were ready for me on set. I stood up, wiped off my face, and walked into the stage. I took my seat on the bridge of the Enterprise D next to Brent Spiner. "I heard about Shatner," Brent said. "You did?" "Yeah. You know he wears a toupee, right?" I giggled. "No, I did not know that." "Oh yeah, he's balder than old Baldy up there." I giggled some more as the stored up adrenaline began to release through my veins. "That is bald." "Yep." Brent put his hands on the console. The first AD said, "This will be picture." We all focused. "Picture is up, very quiet, please. Roll camera. Action," said the director. Patrick entered from his waiting room and walked to the captain's chair.
Mr. Grusha, take us out of orbit.
Laying a course for the Ramatus system, Warp 6. "Aye, sir." My fingers danced across the con. "Course laid in so." "Make it so, Mr. Grusha." The camera creaked back on the dolly track as the Enterprise D went to warp speed. Exactly how it happened every single time we went to warp speed on the Enterprise. There's a bit more to the story, but I've used up half of our time already telling it, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it there so that we can take some Q&A and enjoy the rest of our second Sunday morning together. You can see this story in its entirety. I'm sure it's on YouTube from Wil Wheaton versus Paul and Storm. You can come see Paul and Storm and me and Adam Savage and special guests in Woodstock whenever we come to a city near you, which isn't going to be very soon. But there's going to be Wil Wheaton versus Paul and Storm later this year, probably very certainly coming to a town near-ish to you, right? You think? Yeah.
Same continent.
Yeah, we're totally on the same continent. We're going to be on the same planet, so you got that. Please thank Paul and Storm. Thank you. I want to move to the table where I sit, and I will remove the cake of dicks. Can't believe the cake of dicks, huh?
All right.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. You made me cry, actually. I did.
One of my babies.
I'm crying right here. Okay. No feedback. No feedback.
I feel like a rock star when that happens. Thank you all very much for coming this morning. And, what do you want to do? What should we do?
Yeah, can I just share my William Shatner story?
Please do.
Okay.
I should point out that years later, William Shatner actually did make a very serious effort to apologize, and he actually sent me a note at the behest of Gene Roddenberry. That was a true story, and it's okay now, but it was still pretty shitty when it happened.
I had the chance to meet William Shatner last year. That was the first time. It was in Tulsa at the Trek Expo. There's a green room back there, and all the actors in the green room. And, I've heard all these stories, horrible stuff from Chekhov, from Sulu. All these actors have told me, I'm using the character names.
Good job, Star Trek.
So,
It's okay, it's second Sunday, don't worry.
Second Sunday, I walk up to him and I said, Mr. Shatner, it's great to finally meet you. Now, when he shook my hand, he only gave me the top portion of his hand.
Really?
Yes. So it was this sort of, I thought maybe he was...
You were supposed to kiss the ring.
Yes, I was supposed to kiss the ring. I thought he was giving me the Godfather thing, right? So he gave me half a hand, and he looked at me, and in mid-handshake, he looks away, and then he pulled away, and then he wiped his hand off. Yes, ma'am. And same thing. From that point forward, he was William fucking Shatner to me too, and it hurt. I was
No, it's okay, we got this. Listen, between the two of us, we've saved a lot of people from danger. We can fix the microphone.
Wil Wheaton.
It was really just insulting. It hurt. My feelings were hurt. I was just mad. My first instinct was I wanted to knee him in his fat belly. I mean, that was something I came through my mind. But what happened was this year in Vegas, right before at the Vegas convention, the Trek convention, I'm at my autograph table, and this guy comes up. He goes, "Hi, I'm Bob, and I work for Mr. Shatner, and he would like to have you come over and do an interview for his documentary, The Captains, if you don't mind." I go, "Oh, really?" I said, "Okay."
I'd love for him to come over and do my documentary called Go Fuck Yourself.
I wanted to, but I really wanted resolution from what happened a year earlier. So I followed this guy into the side room. And
No, if you're nice to him, he'll change.
and so
You can totally change him. Try harder.
no, I wanted to tell him.
Somebody doesn't get lifetime.
I wanted to mess with him. I wanted him to know my pain. That's all. I mean, that's it.
So you're his showman.
I am his showman. So I walk in there, and he's like, "Hello, hey, thanks for coming in, and we'd like to go ahead." I said, "Great to meet you." And I said, "You know what? We actually met once before, Mr. Shatner." And he said, "What?
If you kill a man, you better make sure he's dead.
I love you." So, no, isn't he an amazing freaking guest? Come on, right? Would you consider coming back? I mean, to DragonCon?
Or you could come to PAX.
Listen, I hope.
Now, please, fight amongst yourselves.
I hope PAX schedules it the same way so that you can come back next year, because I would love to have you back next year.
If we can make the scheduling work,
Okay.
then I'll come up with another reason why I can't come. I've had a wonderful time. I wrote about it on the Google Plus this morning. I've really enjoyed myself, and everyone that I've met has been so kind, and it's been really wonderful to come out here and experience this thing that I've heard so much about. And I mean, I've been exhausted. I only sort of like went out one night, and I shouldn't have done that because I was so tired. So I haven't really experienced all of it, but the people I have met have been really, really kind, and really, everyone seems to be having a good time. You know, every con has its own personality, and like PAX, the reason I love PAX is it's sort of about celebrating gamers. The games that we play are just kind of there, like to give us a thing to do, and it was a response to E3, which was basically about like just coming up with a way to sort of like take our money and sell us stuff, and we thought, well, we need to do something. Well, I was involved in planning, but they thought, well, we need to do something that celebrates, you know, like the people that make this possible. And you know, Comic-Con over the years has really been co-opted, and it's just a different thing now. Comic-Con is not really about us; it's about people trying to, like, you know, get us to go market stuff for them. And it's still, there's still some cool things there, but it just doesn't have, like, Comic-Con doesn't really have a soul. You know, I mean, it's starting to feel like a corporation. And I kept hearing that DragonCon was this con that was like about people and about fans and about. I totally see it. I totally get it. And it's been really fun. I saw a guy in an Iron Man costume that looked so good it was like CG.
Oh, totally.
It's great. So it's been wonderful. I've had a really, really good time. And I mean, thank you to everybody for being so nice to me.
I actually heard that did you go to an MMO party and with Felicia Day? And you guys were dancing around and everything?
Felicia was like, go to the MMO party. I said, I really don't want to. I just want to go to sleep. She was like, no, go to the MMO party. You'll have a good time. Fucking Felicia. Like, it's 2 cons in a row where she's talked me into going somewhere that I didn't want to go. And then, and I don't enjoy dancing. I do not enjoy dancing. But me plus 2 beers, I really like dancing. She knows this. So she was like, oh, are you at dinner? You should have another beer. And then we went to it was really fun. Yeah, it was a good time.
3 hours I heard you were dancing.
And I don't think it was that long.
Okay, 2.5.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, and then I didn't get enough sleep. Boy, did I not get enough sleep. Which apparently is why it's second Sunday.
Do you have anything going on with Aaron Douglas in terms of some type of rivalry?
Aaron
there is something, right?
Well, and yeah, it's not real. I mean, Aaron and I are extraordinarily good friends.
Good, okay.
Yeah,
got it.
but we do this thing where we just tease each other
Yes.
and really give each other a hard time. We autograph pictures to each other and pass them across at conventions. But we write horrible things I have this picture of Gordy and Chris who stand by me, like where after we shot the gun behind the thing, and one of them goes, "Oh my God, you shot Aaron Douglas, he's dead." And no, you shot Aaron Douglas. And the guy goes, "Oh my God, I think he's dead." And then Gordy goes, "Nah, that's just his career." And I gave that. And then he said anything, and he was like, "Let's talk about that awkward career hiatus you took for 10 years." It was really great. It's just giving each other terrible shit. So yesterday, I stole one of his pictures when he wasn't aware of it, and I just wrote a big word balloon, and it just says, "I love cock." And then I forged his signature on it. So we do things like that.
Well,
and it's really funny because we're trolling about. Well, we'll be trolling significantly less amount of fandom now, but we've been trolling fans for like 3 years because people think, wow, they really hate each other. No, we're really good friends, and we support rival hockey teams, so that.
Hockey fan. Okay. Well, the reason why I brought that up because yesterday after my long day, I go back into my room and I'm watching actually the documentary on DragonCon actually was on PBS, and then after that I flipped over to DragonCon TV and they had footage of the Masquerade costume contest. And the 2 hosts were some comic book artist and Aaron Douglas. So when they introduced Aaron, he comes out and he says, "Well, I just like to say one thing to get us all started," or something along those lines, and he goes, "Frack Wil Wheaton," is what he said. Yeah. So did you see that?
No, but I know that
you know he said. Okay. And I got defensive. What did you say? I'm a track director. I'm gonna take you out. Messing with my And I started taking down
It was all troll face.
I know. So, and then he said something else negative towards you a little later on. I said, "Whoa, wait till I see her. And next time I see her, he's gonna get it." But I'm really happy to know that it's just all of
It's
ours.
just a thing we do.
Okay.
Yeah. And Aaron's actually taking the worst of it because people get really angry at him. And I was like, listen, you probably might want to let people know it's a gag because I have a nerd army. And I cannot control them.
Oh,
Yeah. What do you say we do some questions?
yes, questions.
Enough of what we want to talk about.
Yes.
What would we like to talk
Go ahead.
Oh wow, for the first time I've done something very nice for me.
about? Achievement unlocked. I know, right? Best cosplay ever.
I guess. I had a question and then something I wanted to tell you. The question is, all hail the Prince of Geeks.
Thank you.
You got to step through the veil between the fan world and the other side and being that diehard fan. I want to know, as you were filming the episodes that came up, any of the moral lessons or thinking thoughts, which ones might have stuck with you? Any of the episodes that stuck with you anyway?
Well, I'll tell you, I think one of the things that Star Trek does, and it is a huge part of Gene Roddenberry's sort of goal for the world, and it forms one of the pillars of my "don't be a dick" philosophy. Star Trek says like we should be the best that we can be, and we should be good to each other, and we should face challenges together and solve them together. And one of the ways you do that is by learning from every mistake you make and owning up to every bad choice you make and sort of trying every day to be better than you were the day before. And one of my favorite episodes of Next Generation is Tapestry. Because people always ask me, if you could do anything differently, what would it be? And I can honestly say I wouldn't do anything differently. I've suffered and I've struggled, and all of that led me to where I am, and I really like my life. And I'm really grateful for what I have, and I'm unbelievably lucky. That saying about if you love what you do for work, it's not work. It's like describes my life. And every day I'm afraid I'm going to wake up. And I would not, things would be different if things had been different. That's something that really stuck with me all along.
Cool. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the thing I wanted to tell you, I'm sure you've heard a billion different ridiculous stories.
1,000,000,001.
Here's a billion and two. I had a bucket list when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Kids have diaries. And on my list, climb Mount Everest, visit Antarctica, go to the moon, meet Wil Wheaton. Wait on the list was meet William Shatner. You were up there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I met William Shatner. He actually pulled me up on stage for Bear Hug Star. I guess my experience outdid your first experiences. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Right, yeah.
But
You clearly provided balance in the universe.
But I finally got to meet you, so now I guess I can check my off my list, so thank you.
Oh, awesome.
Hi! It took me since Friday afternoon, but I finally figured out a question for you.
Wow, that's a long time.
Well, I asked Amy and I asked Robin, and I thought it was a little unfair that I didn't ask you anything. The cosplayer back there that was wearing her very nice gray outfit.
Right.
What is up with the butt flap thing?
I have no idea. I think it's supposed to look like trousers or something.
It's like, do they not have a hook and eye back there?
Apparently they don't have hook and eye in the future.
I mean, not that I would always.
It's part of the hook and eye war of 2016. Try to act surprised and do not try to change the future, guys.
I mean, it's not like I was looking at your butt all the time. It was just kind of there and you couldn't help it.
Yeah, I know, it draws your attention, right? I know, I feel the same way about boobs.
If Jen from the Cake Rex is here, hi.
Hi, Jen from Cake Rex. Where are you? Are you here, really? No, she's not. Oh, she's there. You're
I should get a Twitter
awesome.
mention for that.
As my first crush, I was wondering if you would sign my book.
Does anybody say no to that?
Where is a damn Sharpie when you need one? Oh, she's got one.
Wait. You're talking to me, right? Not him.
No, you, buddy, you.
Garrett, I'm gonna be right back.
Go right ahead. Wow.
Second Sunday.
It's not all bad.
Talk about somebody you don't want to follow in line. You flew the real Starship Enterprise D,
I did.
and you have
I
gone.
harped it too. That's hard to do, all right?
And you went to Starship Experience in Vegas.
Yes.
You've written about that. Why don't you just talk a little bit about that? And do you happen to know what's happened to that?
I understand that what remains of Star Trek: The Experience is currently being watched over by top men. Top men. You were there actually the first time I wrote Star Trek: The Experience.
Yes, I was.
And it was very much an experience for me. It was a very emotional experience for me. For normal people, going on Star Trek: The Experience is like, wow, neat, I get to go onto the Enterprise. But for me, it was like, wow, I get to walk into the closest thing to a holodeck recreation of me being a teenager. And I was overwhelmed by nostalgia, and it was beautiful, and it was incredibly emotional, surprisingly emotional for me to stand there and see all of that. I wrote about it in Just a Geek, and it's in Dancing Barefoot too. Rather than recount the entire story, I would encourage you to buy the book.
Was the replica
The
exact?
story is, it was really close. It was a little bit larger in areas just to accommodate more people.
Got it.
But the graphics were all correct, and the fundamental dimensions were accurate. I recommend the audio version of Just a Geek. Should I get the tapes?
Great.
Hello.
Hello. I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts or concerns about the state of science education in public schools today?
I think it's an absolute travesty that there is a popular movement in America. We seem to be alone in the world in this way of sort of making science something that is something that, like, we should doubt science. And being smart is, well, then you're an elitist, and that's not a good thing. And it concerns me greatly. The rest of the world is going to pass us, and we're going to be sort of, picking up trash behind China and India, and wondering why why smart people don't want to work in America anymore. And it is one of the reasons that I absolutely despise the modern, conservative movement, because it's not about conserving anything. Yeah, it's kind of appalling to me that we spend more on tax breaks for multimillionaires than we do on NASA. I mean, okay, Congress.
And
Doing
Will,
a heck of a job, you guys.
well, if it goes to hell, if it all goes to hell, I have a lot of hookups in China. Just saying.
And in Jordan, apparently. Just go and Jordan.
Next question.
First of all, sir, I'd like to say that you look a lot more like what I expect to look like when I grow up than what Commander Riker came up with when he was Q.
I know, right? Commander Riker gets the Q powers, and then he's like, Wesley, I'm going to give you your greatest wish. And Wesley's like, all right, Counselor Troy, let's go. And then Riker's like, here, I'm going to turn you into a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, barrel-chested dreamboat. And Wesley's like, what the fuck? I think that has less with it being Wesley's fondest wish, and more to it having to do with it being the costume designer's fondest wish.
Well, speaking of costumes, you asked me whether or not this was the most uncomfortable thing I ever wore. Truth is, when I made my first mock-up, it was.
Yeah.
So I fixed it. Why?
But it's not authentic.
Sorry. I have to walk that around in all day, and I don't have a place to. Then no one would know who I was.
Right.
Except for maybe you.
Right.
So why was it so uncomfortable? What exactly was so uncomfortable about it? Was the rainbow sweater better or worse? And did it finally get better when you got your own Starfleet uniform?
Oh man, getting my own Starfleet uniform was the greatest thing ever. It was really awesome. I've written about this in books before. There were times, Star Trek was a great experience for me, and there were times when it was the greatest thing in the world, and there were times where I just wanted to go home, and there were times where I was like, well, great, now I've missed the first period of the hockey game. I really wish we would shoot this scene on the bridge so I can go and watch the rest of it, because at the end of the day, it was my job. But I think of everyone, I like to pretend. I mean, I love that. I love that our job is to make believe. Like, every day I go to work, I look forward to work every single day because I get to pretend to do something cool. When I got to put on a real Star Trek uniform, and I got to sit down and do the actual, Picard maneuver, it was such a great experience for me. I was so excited about that. And I had the same level of excitement when I first put on we call it Wesley's Gay Pride Rainbow sweatshirt. Because it got me out of the sweaters that I hated so much. The sweaters were ugly. It was 1989. I was like, why don't they have neon pink gotcha sweaters in the future? And acid wash pants. Come on. And why doesn't Wesley wear 11 swatches? Because that's cool. Why can't my jeans be even higher waisted? Listen, kids, I'm gonna do you a favor, okay? Listen to Old Man Wheaton for a minute. The 80s were not cool. We were a bunch of tools. You do not want to make that stuff happen again. I can promise you. Seriously, build a bonfire, make the kindling out of the pajama jeans, and then put your 80s clothes on it, light fuse, and get away. I hated that spacesuit because it was just the whole point of it was to be tight, and to never have a line on it because there's no wrinkles in the future. And no zippers. And it was just really, really hot. So that was why. No, it wasn't hot. Robin Ford's in here. That sounds like something Robin would say. And also, the other thing that I really hated about that was I hated Wesley's bouffant hairdo. No, I know. A lot of people like it, and there's a graphic online that you can see that's check out Wesley Crusher's sweet ass mother effing bouffant hairdo. He wears it like a boss or whatever, and it's great. I love it. That made having the hairdo worth it. But that was all about hairspray. To this day, I cannot smell Sebastian Haig's Shaper hairspray without throwing up in my mouth.
That's the same hairspray they used on me. Sebastian Shaper hairspray.
Sebastian's gonna kick back.
The big white giant white cat.
Yeah, there's a whole ozone layer shaped like the Enterprise.
Yes.
So thank you for your question. Thank you for your cosplay. I looked at your deviant our page last night, and your cosplay is beautiful. Your Zelda cosplay is amazing, and your Shell cosplay is fantastic. I hope you can someday bring your gargantuan companion cube.
I had it with
Good.
me.
Good.
I just didn't get a lot of pictures as much as I thought, but thank you so
Awesome.
much. Thank you so much for your
Keep
reaction.
getting excited and making things.
Thank you so much.
Holy shit! Drew Curtis from Bark! Boobies!
Big fan of yours. I have a question for you. What is your favorite beer, and is there a studio that, in case an entire room full of people wanted to mail you some, that you could accept it from?
Yes. My favorite beer is Arrogant Bastard Ale from the Stone Lake. Followed closely by Dogfish Head's 90-minute Imperial IPA. Followed closely by the Racer 5 IPA, the Green Flash IPA. Basically, that has IPA in the name and is made by a craft brewery. And I don't work for a studio right now, so I don't know where they would send it. Maybe if they sent it to my friend Drew, who runs Spark, he could forward it to me.
That's a very good idea, Will.
Does Spark have a mailing address, Drew?
No, it does not, unfortunately. I work at my house, but I imagine if you said Drew Curtis and you actually mailed the thing to Lexington, Kentucky, you would probably get to my house.
You know what to do, Internet.
Also, one more question. Will, would you also sign my boob?
Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things here. Yes, sir.
Yes. So I follow you on Twitter as Victor Wallace. And I kind of pulled out that today just to get to this.
Wow, that's a commitment.
And also, because of the benefits last night, which is why I ended up going.
Yeah, I know.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you have filled plates dilithium crystal?
Yes,
You do?
I do.
Alright. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you. True facts. Hello.
Do you want my DJ?
Yes. Bring it to me now. I am attempting to scientifically test the theory that says you cannot have too many dice. When I go to cons, I have a little cup and people come and give me their dice, and I'm probably up to about 35 pounds of dice right now. It's pretty awesome. Look at you all have dice. Awesome, thanks. I'm in the Walk of Fame. As soon as I'm done here, bring them there and give them to me. Please.
I totally feel like letting him. So Will. I want to say two things, and then I have a question.
Okay.
I'm a huge Nerdist fan.
So am I.
And I don't want to know how he fucked the snake out of the cage, but it was an awesome.
No one wants to know how he fucked the snake out of the cage.
And I wanted to say.
He fucked my snake out of the cage, okay? So how do you think I feel about that? I know. None of you know what we're talking about. So it's a good question. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, well, I want to say I'm very lucky that I got to meet Chris last year and I got to meet, we'll sort of meet you. Like that.
This counts.
It's awesome. But have you made any awesomely bad cell phone videos since we did?
No, I haven't. I haven't had time. I haven't really had time. I'll try to make a lame cell phone video today.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next question, please.
Hello.
Hi.
This is in reference to after you left the show and you come back and guest star. Do you feel like the writing was consistent with trying to to portray a character from the earlier episodes. I guess. Sorry.
I don't. Yes, I do. I think it was more realistic. I think one of the great failings and one of the great missed opportunities in the first several seasons of writing Wesley is that he was an idea, not a person, and he was an archetype instead of a character. And I wish that the writers had been able to talk to me. I talked to Linda Snodgrass a couple of years ago, and she said, "Yeah, the producers told us we were not allowed to come talk to you." Because they didn't, well, there was, like, you know this, there were people in the office that had this, like, divide and conquer strategy where they never wanted us to, like, feel like we were all kind of on the same team, and there were some people that sort of wanted us to always feel like, well, you know, we can kill you anytime. Well, kill your characters anyway. And it was kind of a bummer. So I was experiencing this tremendous angst, or angst if you prefer, where I was a teenager and I was working with adults all the time, just like Wesley Crusher, and we could relate to each other as professionals, and we could work together, and I could hold my own with them on a professional level, just like Wesley Crusher. But I couldn't hang out with them because they were adults and I was a kid. And I desperately wanted their approval, and I desperately wanted to be friends, and I wanted to be cool like they were.
You're cool.
Just like Wesley Crusher. Well, yeah, I know I'm cool now. But I wasn't cool then. And it created a lot of turmoil with me. And it set me on this path where I felt like I had a lot to prove to myself and to everyone else. When Wesley came back as an older teenager, I think Ron Moore got that. And he wrote some of the best stuff for me. And he said that he always felt like Wesley was too smart and to be constrained to the military structure of Starfleet. That he felt like Wesley was way too independent and really needed to go do his own thing. And that's why he sent him off with riding around the galaxy eating fan candy with the Traveler for the rest of the time. So, he wouldn't send me this. Yeah, thank you. I think,
This will be the last question, right?
Last question.
So your philosophy is don't be addicted.
Yeah. Oh, I know where this is going. I know.
Is there a reason you choose not to leave by yourself?
That's very
portrayal's not in here, really.
I knew what you meant. I got it. The rest of them are distracted by your costume. But I got it. I don't know why I play douchebags so well. Because it is so important to me. When I had major sinus surgery a few years ago. And I had, it's a genetic thing. My brother and sister and I all had this surgery to take polyps and monsters out of our sinus cavities. And I had it worse than all three of us. And it's a long, complicated surgery, and I was going to be put, go under for the surgery and all that. I had to consider that I would go to sleep and not wake up. And I felt like I had to have some conversations with my kids in case that happened. And I sat my son Nolan down and I said, listen, I'm going to go under surgery in the morning. And it's probably going to be okay. This guy does them every day. But if for some reason I am not here to continue raising you, the most important thing in the world to me is that you live an honest and honorable life. And when you look in the mirror, you are proud of the person who looks back. And you are kind, and you are generous, and you are honest and honorable. And he was like, okay, can I go back to playing Xbox now? But those are my values. That is what is most important to me. And another way to sum that up is to say, don't be a dick. We all have a different archetype that we can play. All actors have different roles in which they excel. John Travolta is a great example. John Travolta plays that lovable loser really, really well. He was great in Grease, he was great in Saturday Night Fever, he was great in Welcome Back, Kotter. And then he's awful in all these movies because we don't believe him as a hero. And then he's a junkie hitman in Pulp Fiction, and we suddenly were like, oh right, of course, you're the lovable loser. We remember, we love you again. A number of years ago, I was, my friend Kim Evie, who produces The Guild, she was doing a web series called Gorgeous Tiny Chicken Machine Show. And she asked me if I would be on it. And I said, yeah, can you write a character for me who's like a douchebag? Like a douchebag agent? Because agents are gross and horrible. And she said, why do you want to do that? You're so nice. And I said, I don't know. I just have a feeling that's the right thing to do. So she cast me in that. And that led to Felicia asking me to be a douchebag in The Kills on The Guild. And then I was a douchebag on Numbers, and then I was a serial killer rapist on Criminal Minds. And now I'm kind of a douchey guy on Eureka, and also evil Wil Wheaton on The Big One. That's awesome. So, it's just sort of what I do as an actor. It doesn't mean that I like that, but it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I like to pretend. It's really, really fun to pretend to be the kind of person that I absolutely despise.
Also, I don't have a trophy, but if you were interested